Hey, what's up? I'm Basil Barrington.
Hey, what's up with DJ Keo? Welcome to another podcast.
Thank you for checking out another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. We are back. Now, before we
hmm
get into things, I just want to say that, when Apple released its latest iOS update,
hmm
they also launched, podcast subscriptions. So that sort of screwed up the podcast, sort of, just the Apple podcast ecosystem. So
Yeah.
when they released that, like when I went to the podcast, they were only showing two podcasts. We couldn't
I'm
log
like, what the
into,
hell?
we could
Yeah.
not, I couldn't log into like Apple Podcast Connect. That wasn't working. It was just like, I
hmm
mean, no one was able to get in. And I was like, okay,
hmm
this is Apple. This is going to sort of propagate over some time,
hmm
because it sounded like, people were talking about they were updating the database. But
Yeah.
now the database has been updated and we are now back. All of the episodes from the Behind the Groove podcast are up on
hmm
Apple Podcast. Okay, there we go. The podcast is back. Everything is available. I love that because, like I said, it was only like two and then three, and it was just like, oh my goodness, what's going on? I mean, I was thinking that we lost everything, to be honest with you, and I was just like, this Apple can't let this happen. As you can see,
No,
we
no.
have 46 episodes here, dude. So we're like approaching 50.
Yeah, we're just chugging along, which I
We are
love.
just chugging
I
along,
love just cranking out the stuff, man. I love doing this show. Like the show is a lot of fun.
It is.
And the topics and stuff is just it's whatever we feel like at the moment. And I,
Right.
I think that kind of it speaks to our nature and what kind of people we are too. So I like doing this show. It's great.
Okay, I love doing this show. If you think about, obviously there's something that's going on in the podcasting space, huge with Joe Budden and his
Yeah.
people. You heard about that. He fired, like basically, he fired empty chairs. But that's what he did.
Yeah,
Literally,
that
he like fired. Ma and Rory, they were gone, so he was just like, "I'm
yeah.
firing you," like to empty chairs. So, but
Yeah, no, that his thing, that situation with the podcast, it's going all over the place right now. He's got different problems, and I think he canceled the show, and I think he's gonna bring it back now again, but it didn't go well.
no,
This last 2 weeks for Joe has been a tough 2 weeks.
he
He's
he.
had like allegations against him,
Oh my
and
goodness,
then
man, come on.
he had the Rory and Mal push back on this thing, and then like it was a mess. It was an
It's
absolute mess, and then he apologized.
and
hmm
then to then walk it back by apologizing. So
I
that's
can't believe he walked it back. That is insane to me. I'm like, yo,
yeah,
you gotta ride or die with your decision.
yeah.
If this is what you think feel like, this is what you feel. But don't the way he walked it back, I was like, oh, come on, Joe. Like, no,
He walked it
that didn't look
back.
good.
He went on
That didn't
social
look good,
media.
man.
He walked it back. He was like, I apologize if I did anything
Yeah.
wrong. Now they're saying, the whole Patreon deal, maybe, it wasn't really a deal. Anyone can sign up for Patreon, right? He
Yeah.
was,
He
they
he
were
was
saying he
doing
had a,
stuff behind the scenes though with the
right,
company. I think
right.
he's yeah, so like it benefited him mostly.
I,
But
I think that's over too. You can't just, the thing about it, man, is this, you can't just screw up your bags like that just because
oh,
you don't know how to control yourself, right?
over a weekend he screwed up all of his bags.
All of his bags,
over
dude.
over a weekend. Because I think that if he was still cool with them, he probably could have smoothed over the other stuff. But
Right.
he burnt everything down. All the bridges are burnt down. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen next. But I mean, this is all self inflicted on his part.
Yeah.
Like,
You know.
I don't know where he goes from here.
And the
And
other
I
thing
was not.
is,
Oh, go
what's
ahead.
up? I was gonna
No,
say
go
the
ahead.
other
Go ahead.
thing is I mean, I can't see him doing a podcast by himself. He needs like hosts to help him out there because he's just not that engaging by himself. He needs sort
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
push and pull with people around him.
He bounces stuff off people. But like, I'll say this
Mhm.
though. I personally believe Rory and Mal are interchangeable, and a lot of people disagree with me, and they let me have it with it. But I was like, I've listened to his podcast from the early days when he first started making them, and I've seen over the years how it grew into what it became.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's his show. He's the star of the show, and he bounces ideas off of these other guys.
Right.
And they say they're two-piece, but he does the majority of the talking. So if you look at it from that standpoint, it's sure they're part of this bigger thing, but he can just gather two other people and put them in the room. Like, I saw a show without Rory and Mal, and it went fine.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel like it was diminished because they weren't there. It was still fine.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be his co-host? I mean, people just, anyone to tell you, like, you may not want to, deal with Joe when it comes to sort of like, just business and things of that nature, I mean,
he's had that reputation from Slaughterhouse days when he was Eminem and those guys. Like he's had a difficult to work with reputation for a long time.
Yeah.
Even back in his Def Jam days. So like I don't think that anything's gonna be like, oh, I can't believe Joe's like this. Like that's not like he's on the podcast. Like everybody knows this is how he is. So he's had part with the Joel Ortiz and these guys. They had issues with him.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't know.
It's not good. Man.
I can't say. I've never met him, so I don't know him personally, and I don't. Yeah, so I can't say for certain if he's not a good person to work with or whatever. But his energy he gives off is kind of a loner and doing his own thing. And
it's not good, man. It's listen. Okay, so listen, let's get into today. We're going to speak about some of the music we've been listening to. I guess we've been probably listening to a lot more music during lockdown. But I think we should start off by talking about this Nicki Minaj release, Beam Me Up Scotty.
Yes.
So
I put out a video about this a couple of days ago. And I got it's like 50 or 60 comments in there. It does low views on the video, but everybody's flaming me, trying to explain to me I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've seen this before. This is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
And I noticed one thing about it. Everybody who's mentioning what they thought about Nicki Minaj refused to mention Cardi B. They didn't want to bring her up in the conversation. I'm like, well, how can you do that without talking about Cardi B? Because Cardi B is the person who took her spot. And they put out in 2018, both of these people put out albums. The Invasion or whatever, I forgot what it was called, for Cardi B's album. And Nicki Minaj put out a Queen album. Nicki sold 1 million copies. Cardi B sold 3 million copies. I'm like, that's your first bad sign.
There you go.
That's your first bad sign. And then I looked at, releases and combos and people who did collaborations, whatever. Nicki didn't do that many. Cardi B a ton of them. And all of those singles did platinum and triple platinum, whatever. So I'm like, if one person is being in all the album covers, she's getting all the collaborations, she's winning awards, Grammys, whatever what you think of, all of these years, and the other person is on vacation. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be like, well, something's going on here.
Yeah.
One person's going up, the other person's going down. But Nicki fans flame me, and so I made another video, which is going to come out later today. And I broke down album sales, streams. I went through the gambit. I gave examples. So
yeah,
it's I had to. It's too much emotion with this argument. I know people have like Nicki. She's a great artist. She has a ton of hits, but she's not hot right now. She's not hot. She's warm. She's medium warm, but she's not hot.
She's definitely not hot. I mean, if you just look at this album, first of all, this album, Beam Me Up Scotty, what I'm hearing is it's a mix. It's basically mixtape. It's an old mixtape, right?
Yeah.
So and then she added 3 additional tracks to it, right? 3 new tracks. Yeah. First thing, like I thumbed through like all of the sort of tracks, and I was like, I'm just gonna put it out there and just say, give my opinion about this album. I thought the album was garbage. If you are, first of all, Nicki Minaj, I don't even know why she has to do stuff like that because she's basically a Hall of Famer. You know, it's just like you're in a Hall of
Yeah.
Fame, girl. You know,
Yes, absolutely.
you know, it's just like. And the other thing with the female rap game, you know, the raunchier you are, the more you're going to become like the new it girl or whatever it is, you know. So, you know,
Yeah.
now Nicki is competing with not only Cardi B, but Megan Thee Stallion, you know, and then you have all these other girl groups, Cash Doll, you know, like
There's
City
a lot of
Girls, just
tiny
like,
groups that are
right,
taking up
you know.
space.
And that's all they're doing. They're taking up space, you know. And Nicki has to
Yeah.
realize that when you came up, you sort of replaced Little Kim, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, again, because Nicki is a Hall of Famer, right? She doesn't need to do any stuff like this. She doesn't need to sort of like feel like she needs to compete with these younger sort of like super groups. And these younger groups, they just don't have the cachet as a Nicki Minaj. They may have a song or something like that just hits. It hits the charts, yada yada yada.
And
you can't chase that.
And then
that's
and nobody cares.
No
it's the
one
one-hit wonder
cares.
type thing.
You can't chase that. The other thing I notice is like when you're like a rapper who's got some years under you, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, and then you feel you have to put out an album. If you look at, there's one thing that's kind of consistent across the board when something like that happens, right? The rapper puts out an album, releases an album with like 20, 30 tracks on it, right?
Yeah.
And in today's market, it's just like, no. That's not what you do as a rock star, as like a Hall of Famer. You don't say, hey, you know what, I'm going to put an album out and it's going to be 23 tracks. This album has 23 tracks. And like I said, it's just my opinion. I don't think it's a great album at all.
It's definitely dated. There's a lot of songs in there.
It's
like, well,
dated.
this is not what's hot right now. This is not what people are looking for right now. But because it's like 10 years old or whatever, or 12 years. I can't remember how old it is. But I look at it from the standpoint of you can't compete with the younger, more ratchet crowd.
You can't.
if you were gonna do this, you need to reinvent yourself, kind of like how Madonna does.
Right.
Every couple of years, Madonna she had that album Spirit. I forgot what it's called, and she kind of did like electro dance music and some other stuff. She had like trip hop and all this other stuff she did, and she brought herself back into. You need to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Drake does the same thing. He went to Africa, started messing with these other guys over there. He went to England, started messing with these dudes over there. Right. And so when you're looking at Drake, you're not expecting this is the same thing all these other guys are chasing. He's one step ahead of you now. And so I look at Nicki. Nicki needs to be one step ahead of the ratchet, whatever. If she's going to come out, cover yourself up then. Don't make an OnlyFans. Don't do that. That's the wrong direction. Cardi has OnlyFans. So these other girls have OnlyFans. Don't do that. No. You can't chase what these other girls are doing. You need to come out and go in the other direction. Like do a reggae album, do a soca album or something. Like, because she's from Trinidad, or I think her family's from Trinidad.
Yeah,
make a soca album. Do something completely left field that no one's expecting, and carve a new path. But if you're trying to chase with these other girls, like I looked at the Megatron video, and I looked at Cardi B's Up video. You could interchange these two videos because they both look the same. And they're doing the same things in the video.
Right.
And so you couldn't, one's 2 years ago and one came out last year, I think, or early this year. I can't remember. But if you put these two videos together and interchange the scenes, it will look like the same video. You couldn't tell the differse.
Yep.
And like, this is wrong. You have to separate yourself from these people because your competition's fierce and they're younger. And
a lot more energy.
I made the analogy like, people in the music industry, you have like 4 years. I treat it like the high school years, and your grade 9 through grade 12, and this is your core fan base. But when you get to out of a high school and you get to college, your fan base grows up and starts listening to new music, which is going to get to our further topic. I was looking at music that I play, and what I used to play heavy is completely different from what I play today.
Right.
Because I moved on in life and I've grown in different ways. And this is the same thing with these two fan bases. Nicki's fan base, they're stuck in a time warp, if you will, about what's going on right now. And she should have evolved with her fan base.
Yeah.
Whereas she's chasing Cardi B's fan base right now. And this is not gonna work. This is gonna fail in tears.
Listen, man.
I'm calling it right now.
She's like, first of all, I don't know even if she even has the, how am I trying to say this? If she can even do another album, a fresh new album, and for it to be a hit, The thing about it is, like, Nicki Minaj has changed a lot. Remember when she first came out, she was like doing her little whole K-pop outfits and everything, right?
Yeah. Now she's like, I'm hardcore.
Yeah. Now, she, and the other thing is, and again, I'm just putting it out there, it's just like when you look at, I was talking to my cousin about this, Megan Thee Stallion and also Cardi B, they both came out with new songs, right? And I looked at both videos. And I was like, okay, I like the Megan joint a little better, So 360 come back to like Nicki Minaj, right? And it's like, well, you know what? I mean, I know she's trying to compete with these new female rappers, but again, you don't have to do that. You're a Hall of Famer. It's just like what you were saying, like even Beyonce. She'll go to places like Africa, come back with a whole new style in her head, right? Releases an album and it's something new, fresh, and funky, something we've never heard of before. How she blends it all together.
I don't think there's like a perfect way to do it, but I think that we can see from past artists what has worked for them and what's failed for other people. And the factor that you need to reinvent your style and try and reach out to a different market, that's the thing that will save you.
Yeah.
Because that's what saved other artists.
Right.
Now, it may not work perfectly. And I don't think that if Nicki put out an album today, it's going to fail miserably. But it's not going to do. it's not going to do
Nicki numbers.
Original Nicki numbers.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the point. She has a bar that's here.
If
you look at Drake, Drake is consistent with every music and album he's put out.
Right.
It's sold a consistent amount. And he got the same level of attention and the same level of songs on the charts and the same level of songs in the clubs and the same people putting it out. Like this, it's the same. It's consistent. And you can't, as a female artist, you can't do dips. It can't go up and down, whatever. It's got to stay consistent. Once you do a dip, the sharks are in the water and it's over for you. So again, we'll see what happens. But I think that she's on perilous ground if she tries to chase Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion and City Girls and that stuff. If she makes an OnlyFans, stick a fork in it. Like just throw it out. Like it's over.
It's just like, yeah, man. I don't know. I kind of think like what she released was sort of a cop out.
Yeah, I don't get that.
And you had like basically you had Lil Wayne and Drake as bookmarks. So
trying to save it.
Right, exactly. And again, this is an old mixtape, right? And you have 23 tracks on this. It's just like, well, come on. It's just like you're a Hall of Famer. You can put out your next album could be 8 tracks. People would love it. But you got to put some creativity into it, and you can't just say, hey, I'm gonna release 23, songs on an album after not releasing the album for a very long time, just because you think you need to have some stuff out there in circulation. Again, you've been in the game for a while. You understand this. You are a Hall of Famer. You need to start thinking that way and stop thinking like all these like one-hit wonders are, and just get off of social media too and, chill out.
We'll see. Well, absolutely. She could be in the lab right now trying to make up some crazy electro funk thing. I'm like, you know what? All right, cool. But I don't know. I doubt that's going to happen. I have a lot of doubts that's going to happen because ego is involved. And if you're the dominant person for a long time, a lot of people feel like, well, I need to recapture that. And that is wrong for her. Those days are over. You need to do something different. But you know what? We'll know. We'll see.
We will see. I kind of think it's over, but but
We will
we will
see.
see. You know.
I mean,
Now,
I've seen these trends for like 20 years. Like it doesn't look
yeah.
good.
Now, in terms of rap, what have you been listening to, like in terms of rap, or is there like any specific artists in rap that you've been really listening to, been like vegging out on? Like, I like this artist.
I haven't been listening to any like as a DJ. I've been going through, getting new music, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, myself as Keo, just driving in my car, going to Costco or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to a lot of old school rap, like
Yeah.
90s, early 2000s.
Yep.
That's basically what I've been listening to.
Yep.
I have some new music and some old music, but I would say majority of stuff I've been listening to is Outkast, uh, Old Dirty Bastard, and Kanye.
Okay.
I think those are the bulk, and EPMD. Those are the bulk of things that I've been listening to.
You're right. In terms of hip hop, I listen to a lot of '90s hip hop because I just think that I mean, I can understand that stuff, you know. Like some of this newer stuff. I mean, I like what Griselda's doing. I mean, no fronting. I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
I also like Rock Marciano. He's like a killer. I love what he's doing. I mean, just some of the stuff he, just puts out is just like amazing. Whoever thought that this guy, such a hardcore rapper, used to be down with the Flipmo Squad, you know?
Yeah.
He is amazing. But and I guess the other sort of like rap, the new stuff I've been listening to is I've actually been listening to Jayden Smith's album too. That's a pretty interesting album. That's
Jayden
another
is
album.
Talented.
Yeah, that's another album that has about like 17, 20 tracks on it. When I was listening to it, he's got some like kiddie stuff on it, but for the most part, it's a solid album. It also sounds like he's had some help with some of the tracks because you could tell, some of these tracks have
It's
like
evolved.
a Philly. Yeah, it has a Philly sound to it, and I'm like, oh, he probably got some help from like Jazzy Jeff or his father. But and he's got bars, man, so I'm listening to him. I'm like, okay, I like this guy, man. He's pretty good. Obviously, I've been listening to Tyler the Creator because I think like for me, he probably produced one of the most creative rap albums like over the last 2 years.
Igor is a quality album.
Igor
really
is a beast. That put him on the map like no other rapper. He's just creative. He's just like, he's above all that stuff, He's above all this goofiness when it comes to rap because, in a rap game, you hear the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's why we probably, people who grew up in that era with kind of feeling like, some of this 90s rap stuff, it's still great, man. It's timeless, It's just people talking about different stuff, You can understand what people are saying. They're not mumbling.
There's no question, like, a lot of this new stuff is not for me, and I don't even pretend like it is.
Yeah, it isn't.
And so I don't mind playing it, and I don't have an issue with it. Like I'm not one of those people that are like, this new stuff sucks, and it's like, it's not for me. It wasn't made for me.
Right.
So I don't do that. But for sure, I think that I grew up listening to EPMD and those kind of rappers like Big Daddy Kane, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that era has like a special place in my heart. But I think my favorite EPMD album is Business as Usual. And I listen to that all the time, just randomly. I was going through my phone before we put this thing together, and I was like, what am I listening to a lot? And it is a couple things kept coming up. Raekwon, so it's Wu-Tang, EPMD, and this Kanye album, the My Dark Fantasy.
Okay.
That album in particular, because I was around Bink around that time, and I remember him telling me like, oh, I'm going to Hawaii because we were supposed to go to his house. And he's like, oh, I'm going to Hawaii. I'm going to lay down some songs for Kanye. And I was like, oh, so okay, all right. And that was the Devil in the New Dress song.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like around that age range, whatever, that's the bulk of my music for rap music in particular. Yeah. But like I love Nerd. I actually have a I have an album over here.
A Nerd album.
I
There
love
we
Nerd.
go. Oh my goodness.
This is one of my favorite albums of all time.
No way. That
Yeah,
is
I
Nerd. I remember when they like started releasing their own music, and I was like, okay, this is kind of
yeah,
interesting. Just people doing instrumentational stuff. Kind
yeah,
of cool. Just again, you don't like the thing about the rap game today is, I just don't think that people are being ultra creative when it comes to the rap game. That's why I
not at
said
all.
Tyler the Creator, produced one of the most creative rap albums,
Hmm.
like, you know, definitely over the last 2 years, but maybe like,
Yeah,
in a generation,
I,
because again, he took rap,
yeah.
he took all these different genres, he put it together. I mean, he also had visuals going on, so he kind of killed it
Hmm.
with that album. Um, the another song, that song that what's old boy's name? Nas X, the song he came
Oh,
out with the devil and everything, right? I was listening to it and I was like, so I was listening to I listened to the song, I watched the video, and then I
mm,
started watching like how people have reacted to the song, like on YouTube, just some of these bloggers and everything, and people were going off this, that, and the other. And
mm,
the thing I thought about, I was like, well, wait a minute. I said, well, what about like David Bowie, and what about Prince, and
mm,
what about the Rolling Stones, and just what about all of these artists who pushed the boundaries when it came to like sexuality, the way they
mm,
dress, all of that stuff. These male artists, Marilyn Manson. It's like, what's the
mm.
difference? You know,
Yeah,
there
I
is
don't
no
think there's a
difference.
difference at all.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that because he had such a big hit of a song, I think that they were trying to figure out a way to get as much attention to the new song as possible.
Yeah.
And so I don't even think that it probably had as much controversy as they say it did,
Hmm.
but I think that we're in this kind of an echo chamber where people they do something and this looks like it's like, especially for YouTube. If they see somebody sees something is working, 100 other people jump on that same thing. They probably didn't
Right.
even care about it. But they jump on it and it looks like it's bigger than it really is, but it's just more so a bunch of people trying to ride the wave so they can get their views or whatever. And
Hmm.
I think for him, the actual song itself is fine. It's okay. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a problem. I think it's okay. But I think that they were thinking in this team, if we can get these visuals and then we'll do this thing with the shoe and we'll do all this other stuff,
Right.
everybody's gonna be talking about this guy for like
Yes.
2 months.
And they did.
But and they did, and they kind of wore
Mm.
off. And I don't think nobody's name for thinking they're not talking about him right now. I think he was just on SNL this weekend.
Oh, really?
Whenever we post this up, yeah, I think he was
Hmm.
on there performing. I think it was this week or last week. I can't remember, but like in between that time, there's like a big flame, and then it blew out, and nobody was thinking about him. And I think that's one of the problems with trying to do the shock value rather than trying to push your music and let your music speak for itself. You cannot chase the shock value. Like that TikTok thing is 15, 20 seconds. That's all you get.
Listen, man, so this guy's like that song, Montero got 216 million views.
Mhm. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
Whatever he
that's
was
the
doing, he did it right. I mean,
those views were like
uh
in the first week,
yeah,
and it
probably.
just kind of went straight down after that.
Right. Hmm.
There's not a lot of people talking about him right now. Like, there's not like anticipation for an album. There's not that energy isn't there. Like, what's Lil Nas X doing?
Hmm.
What's is he in the studio right now? Nobody's talking about it like that. It's more of the video and the shoes and then him getting sued by Nike. That's kind of what they're talking about. And I think
Right.
that that's probably not the best for him for a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
He needs people talking about the song, not the video. The video's an add-on to help you sell the song, but you need to be talking about the song itself.
even though there is a lot of rap music out there, just people are releasing all types of stuff, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I have been getting introduced to some new music. Like there's this one crew called I think it's one guy called Sleep Sinatra,
Okay, yeah, I've heard of
and
him.
and he has like Children of the Latchkey. That's the song he came out with. It was sort of a Sway 45 battle on Sirius XM, and they played his
Mm,
song and put it up against someone else's song, and people were like, "No, this guy has bars. I'm picking this guy." So I went on to
mm,
like Tidal and checked it out. I was like, "Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. This is a young guy."
mm.
But you could tell he's blending what was popping off in the 90s with what's popping off today. He sort of blended those together, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, now I have something here where, I'm true to the game. And also, I'm true to what's happening, like that's new in the game as well. So I like what that guy is doing.
Mm,
But in terms of rap, you're right. There's not a lot of rap music, new rap music that I listen to because I just
mm.
think they all sound the same.
There's a lot of copying, but
Yeah,
like
it's a lot
not
of
even the
copying.
singles. Like, what albums in particular are you on your phone or in your title or whatever folder that you're like, okay, when I get in the car, I'm gonna listen to this? Because I tried to separate it from stuff that I would listen to randomly and then stuff that I'm actually listening to. Like the second I get in my car, I turn my phone on and this is what comes up. And I think I had like maybe 6 albums or so. So while
Okay.
you're looking for your song, I'll tell you. Uh, I have The Weeknd, Starboy.
Wait a minute. The
Um,
Weekend album, you have his album on your playlist, dude?
yes, yes, I know,
And what do
I
you think
know.
about that?
I like that particular album.
Hmm.
Uh, it's a mixture because he had some different producers and stuff like that, and it had a different vibe from a lot of the other stuff he's doing. And there's a couple songs in particular I liked. There's a song called False Alarm.
Hmm.
I love the music video. The video's visceral when you watch it, and you like it leaves you emotional watching the video because the video is raw. It's like a bank robbery.
Right.
Um, and there's Secrets, Nothing Without You, and I Feel It Coming. That's with Daft Punk and those guys. Like, there's some good songs on there that I think people will like, just even if you're not a fan of his. But I have that song in my rotation. Um, the other album I have is from Outkast, the AT
AT Aliens.
and
Okay.
yeah, that song, like when it came out, like that song hit me because I was like, that's the first big Outkast album because that was after the Players Ball album,
Hmm.
and that one hit and it set the tone for Atlanta music in the South, whatever. And oh man, I played that. I had a tape. I played that, burnt the hole in the tape, bought the vinyl.
You
I
put
have
a
it
hole
sealed
in
up.
that joint, didn't you?
Yeah, I refuse to play the vinyl. I have the vinyl. I'm not gonna play it. Um, yeah, like AT Aliens, the two dope boys, Wheels of Steel. I love the scratching on Wheels of Steel. I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Mr. DJ. I forgot his name. That did the scratching, and he has another song called Mainstream on there that's kind of talking about what people will have to do in the music industry to kind of be successful, and that couldn't be a more fitting topic than what we're talking about right now.
Exactly.
And so yeah, and I have an album that's out of left field, and I know a lot of people are going to look at me crazy for, but I have this album from this group called Portishead,
Oh, listen.
and
Which one? Dummy?
no, the Portishead album, the
Right.
the self-titled album,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and
Hmm.
yeah, I had Dummy. My brother-in-law gave it to me. He's the one that put me onto him.
Yeah.
We went on a trip. We were coming from New York and we're coming back to Canada.
Hmm.
And he had a bunch of tapes and he was like, "Yo, you gotta listen to this." And I was like, "Yo, all right, yeah, I gotta fill this out." And put me into a trance. Dummy, when I heard Dummy
Yeah.
the first time, I was like, "Holy shit,
Yeah.
this album is crazy!"
Listen.
Because it's like folk, but like mixed with Wu Tang. If that makes
Listen,
any sense, like that's
dude.
the energy I get.
Dummy was like, when I heard Dummy, I was just like, okay, this is the album of the year right here, because you
Yeah,
had a little bit of hip hop, you had some trip hop, you had all
yeah,
this sort of those different genres they would blend back in England.
yeah.
And Portishead, the album, wasn't that a double album?
No, it's a single.
It was a
They
single
have
album.
3 albums. Yeah, they have
Mhm.
Dummy, Portishead, and then Third.
Yeah,
I didn't like Third as much, but I
yeah,
think I was like overhyping that because of the first 2. But
yeah.
yeah,
Portishead
yeah.
Dummy
Well,
is, man. It's like, wow,
that
that's an
that
amazing
set the
album.
tone.
Yeah,
Like that album set the tone for what Madonna did,
yep.
for Massive Attack, for a bunch of other
Hmm.
groups, and especially electric dance music and that kind of stuff. That album set the tone for a lot of other people, and it created a whole new genre of music.
That's
And
true.
so yeah, that I still every once in a while when I'm in a mood, I'm like I gotta pop that on and listen to it. And this as a DJ, I love the way they can merge these 2 genres together and the scratching and all that other stuff. I
Right.
thought that was crazy. So I think that and the last album that I listened to is Prince, and the album's Parade.
Okay.
And that's a big album to me. My sister, she's the one that put me onto it because she's a huge Prince fan, and I was a little kid, I could care less about Prince, but she used to play it in the house,
Hmm.
and so every once in a while I'll be playing, and I'm like, listen to it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of funky.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's
That's kind of cool. And then just slowly it just grew on me and grew on me. And then we used to go on like family trips, and I would listen to it in the car in headphones while we're on a family trip. And I was like, yo, this album is genius compared to a lot of the other stuff that's out there right now. Like this is on a different universe. And
yeah.
so like I became a Prince fan as a little kid after that album came out. So yeah.
You can't go wrong with Prince. So this is what I've been listening to. So the
Okay.
one album I've been listening to a lot of is the Cade album, Bubba. That
Yeah, that's a
album
good
right
album.
there, like he got a
That's
Grammy
a
for
good
that
album.
too. But that
Yeah.
album, the reason why that album is so sick is because that's my genre. If I'm out playing, that's my vibe. That's
Mhm.
what I do. That's how I play. You may hear like a little chill out vibey sort of like 90 beats per minute track, or you may hear some like new disco, at 120
Mhm.
beats, a minute, or something in between. So that sort of loungy, vibey sort of like album he made with Bubba, that
Yeah.
is an amazing album, and it's just dope, man. And he released an instrumental, so now he has like Bubba instrumentals, which is kind of dope
Mhm.
because back in the day when we bought music, there was always like an instrumental to it, and so he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I have this album. I know it's doing this thing digitally speaking. I'm going to release
Mhm.
the instrumental digitally speaking as well." So
Mhm.
that is pretty cool. One of my old school albums I've been listening to is Pete Rock and CL Smooth, The Main Ingredient. That's like one of my top five.
Oh,
That's one of my top five albums, like
yeah.
period. That's
Oh,
like top
yeah.
five. As a matter of fact, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, that's like in my top five. In terms of like rap artists as well. But that album,
Mhm.
that's an album you can just turn on, let it play from start to end. Um,
Mhm.
Pete Rock with his like dope jazzy beats, and CL
Yeah, it's a
Smooth with
solid
his
album.
like it's a solid album, dude.
It's
It is
solid.
a
Yeah, yeah.
solid album. In terms of Prince, now I always listen to Prince, but one of the albums that I'm like
Mhm.
totally in love with, my favorite Prince album, and I think maybe 90% of all like everything that Prince has made. But the
Mhm.
Dirty Mind album, that's like
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's my favorite album because it's like it's a like sort of hyper creative Prince, and he's also
Mhm.
pushing the boundaries with his sexuality as well. So and it's a dirty album. He talks about a lot of weird things in that album, like
Yeah,
him and his
yeah,
sister
yeah.
getting together, and just all this
Mhm.
other stuff, right? But it's an amazing album. It was put together well. He did the whole thing.
Mhm.
So that's a pretty dope album. The other one is I've been listening to now. I just got wind of this group probably 2-3 months ago. The group is called Cage the Elephant. So
Okay. No, I've never heard of them.
Cade's the Elephant is a group out of Kentucky. But
Okay.
then they moved to London, so now they live in London. But they're like an alt rock. They call themselves a rock band, but they do a lot of alt rock,
Mhm.
right? You know, alternative rock. And
Okay.
man, they just everything that they've had, everything that they've released. I'm like feeling the whole thing. I'm like, wow, okay, this is a really cool group. Cade's the Elephant.
Okay.
Four guys out of Kentucky, like I said, now they live in London. They're producing a
Mhm.
lot of stuff. And when I was looking at the animated series, The Invincible,
Mhm.
or Invincible it's called, on
Yeah.
Amazon, they had a serious sound track in that whole
Oh, there
series.
was. Okay,
Yeah,
I gotta listen to that
yeah.
group
I
here. It's
mean, they
called
had
Cage Element. Oh, I'll make a
It's
note.
Cage the Elephant, yeah, and they were playing a lot of their tracks. They were also playing a lot of just hip hop tracks, and I actually got introduced to like a lot of new music too. Because on Amazon, you know, if you sort of do an info, they not only give you the stars that are playing in that specific scene, but they also
Mhm.
let you know
Yeah,
the
yeah, I love that.
specific music, right? That's kind of cool, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
that's pretty dope, man. And another thing I do when it comes to new music, and this is just, I don't know if you know about this or if anyone knows about this. I'm quite sure people do know about this because this channel gets, they have a lot of subscribers, but there
Mhm.
is a YouTube channel called Colors, right? And are you
Okay.
familiar with Colors?
Yeah, yeah, you were telling me about this before.
So Colors is like all they do is like these music videos of people coming to their studio and
Mhm.
you know they sort of sing their songs behind different colors, right?
Mhm.
And it's the best. It's probably one of the best ways to find new music on YouTube because it's all in one place. You know,
Yeah.
this website, man. I mean, like my friend told me about it. And I've
Mhm.
been introduced to some really cool neo soul, some really cool alt rock, some some new jazz, some like new disco, all of it, man. It's a great website and it's a great place to be
Mhm.
introduced to new music. Um, I was
What's the
introduced
thing
to
though?
say that again.
I said that's the thing though. There's a ton of music that comes out almost every day,
Yeah,
and it's damn near impossible to keep track of it all. And a lot of this stuff is really good, but we the smaller artists or people not connected in the industry, or whatever, you're never going to hear about them. So stuff like this is great to keep people's ear to the street for new stuff to check out. And I think this is a brilliant idea.
it's kind of dope, man. I was introduced to an artist called Ego LMA, and
Hmm.
that's where I found her, like on on Colors, and I was like, oh, I like this. She has
Hmm.
sort of like a neo soul sort of vibe, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this person. So I started listening to her albums, and the other one of the the one of the other artists that I listen to every day. I listen to this
Hmm.
group every single day, every day, and I have all of their albums not only on vinyl but also on cassette. And that
Hmm.
is the B-52s. One of my
Okay.
favorite bands out there, dude. The B-52s. I just like that
Yeah.
sort of sound. Um, I like, just how like creative they are when they, just putting all this sort of like music together. And they just have a
Hmm.
lot of great albums, man. So I listen to
Yeah.
them all the time. They're inspirational too. Like, I mean, you can
Yeah.
listen to their
Yeah.
music if you're down, and next thing you know, your spirits will lift up. So the
Hmm.
B-52s are like one of those groups, man. I listen to all the time, every day. I listen to B-52s.
Hmm.
Another, well, this is not a group, but a guy um, is he's a producer and a rapper, right? But his
Okay.
name is Tall Black Guy, and
Okay.
that's his name, Tall Black Guy. And he has like a lot of he does a lot of beat tapes, and he, like I said, he's also a producer, and he also does some stuff where he's spitting some lyrics, and I just like his vibe. It's like it's sort
Mm.
of like neo soul vibe, but also sort of conscious, and he can go hard with it as well. But I've been actually feeling him a lot lately. Um, and man, there's so much stuff out there. I've been digging Jada Kiss new album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is it? Ignatus or something like that. Ignatus.
Yeah, yeah.
And Steve Spacek came out with a new album. I've been checking him out. Steve Spacek used to be, I think that was Q-Tip's first artist off his label, Steve Spacek.
Uh, which of museum?
Um,
Which
it
which label?
it was his very first label, but the guy's name is Steve Spacek, and he did some really cool stuff, man. Like I said, I was feeling his first sort of release. It was kind of dope. Um,
Okay.
Another sort of so there's a female rapper called Melly. She's like a
Mm-hmm.
Dominican. Um, and she sings and she also raps, and she does a lot of stuff in her own native language as well. But I like
Mm-hmm.
her stuff too. I always thought that, she could possibly be a superstar, but it's just so much that these women have to go through as rappers. Like they don't know if they should like get their boobs increased or like get a bigger booty or anything. It's just like so much going on. It's just like, no, why don't you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be the nice, clean, healthy person you are, spit your bars and
Mm-hmm.
make your bread like that. But I don't know. And then last but not least, I always listen to all of my old school deep house music from like the 80s and the 90s and 2000. That's just
Mm-hmm.
something I play on a weekly basis. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
not to mention, it's just, it's kind of cool just like playing vinyl too. I mean, we're DJs. We're DJs who came from vinyl. So we are
Mm-hmm.
going to play vinyl like at least
Yeah.
4 or 5 times a week, you know?
Yeah, I like to veg out and just put it on and then just sit on the couch with some headphones on. It
Right.
just sounds different than your phone does. It just sounds different, and it feels good because it's old school.
Old school. Are you listening to like have you been introduced to anything like totally new that just totally blew you away?
I've been as far as music goes, not really. I've been more following stuff just because I'm trying to prepare for DJ lists and whatever and playlists. But
Mhm.
blown away. I like I like Electro House.
Mhm.
So like Oliver Heldens, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Um like that kind of funky house. Like I love
Mhm.
that stuff. So
Yeah.
I've been like getting into that kind of stuff lately. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I wouldn't say that anything's blown me away, but it's just more of a mood.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of house it makes you want to dance. This is funky. I love funky house.
Yeah.
Like, that's just my thing. With the bass lines and everything and the bass. I love
Yeah, that's the Electro House. I remember when Electro House became really popular and
that.
you know, I played it once. I bought a couple tracks, a few tracks, and then I played it once out at a set, and I was
Mm.
playing it, and and I was like, you know what? I think this may be the last time I play Electro House, right? Because it was just like, okay, I like the like. First of all, you
Mhm.
know, Electro House, like when you hear Electro House in a club setting with like the
Oh,
banging
it is.
speakers,
Oh my god, it's
for,
phenomenal.
forget about it. The
It is
kick, the bass
phenomenal.
line, those
You can feel it in
producers,
your
man,
chest. Yeah.
they know what they're doing when they're making that like Electro House because Electro
Mhm.
House has so much movement in the music and the song. You have
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
vocal samples and like crazy bass lines and then like stabs and everything.
Yeah.
So you got to listen to that like on some to like really hear it to really feel it like on some really good speakers.
Yeah, I don't listen to it in my car,
Yeah,
but like if I have in my house, if I'm playing around with it or if I'm playing out, I'll play
right.
it. But
Yeah,
generally I don't listen to it in my car just to drive around town. Like That's no good.
Yeah,
My speakers in my car are not sufficient.
You may want to check out Jack House if you like that sort of the whimsicalness of like Electro House. Like Jack House is just imagine like how hip hop was made back in the 90s, where like for instance like a Primo would do all the scratching and all the samples and everything. Take that, speed it up to 120, 125 beats per minute. You have Jack House. And that's how it sounds. It's like crazy like that, and it's like really fun, and it's a hard sort of sound too that comes through the speakers really hard.
I love electric music, man. Electronic music. I love it because there's so many different genres and styles, and there's a subsection.
Yeah.
Like if you don't like dubstep, okay, that's fine. There's this kind of house here. There's the funky house, then the swing house. There's like Brazilian house, and like this is so much different versions, and everybody's in their little corner having fun.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I like about the music is that with house music in particular, none of it's moody and like this is not to have fun with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not for to be in your corner and to hide it away and only cool people can listen to it. It's open for everybody, and it's just like it's to dance and have fun with. I think that it's one of the last genres of music where like kind of like how disco was. Disco was dance. Like that's all you're gonna do with disco. You're not listening to it to hear it or whatever. You're gonna go dance when disco comes on, and that's the same way I feel about house music.
Exactly. Like my friends, before, the lockdown, there would always be these underground sort of like deep house music parties. And it's just like, hey, there's a party this week, it starts at like 1 a.m. And so, everyone would come out, and it's like, in a very small space, but you'd have like 200, 300, 400 people, and people just vibing out off of like vibey house music because, it's like you come there to dance. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like 20 degrees outside, but you are walking into that club with like a t-shirt on, some jeans, maybe some shorts. You come there to party. You come there to dance all night long. So, that's basically how it is.
The only other genre.
What's up?
No, I think the only other genre that I think is kind of in that same vein is like soca music like that, and some Spanish, but like merengue. Like there's that music that it's up tempo, and the people who listen to it, they want to have fun. And even if you're not like super versed in what it is, you could still you could do the moves, the basic moves, and it's inviting for everybody rather than it's just like, this is not for you. You can't do this.
Let me ask you this here, right? Okay, so here we are talking about music. We are extremely, as music producers, as DJs, we are extremely judgmental to a lot of this music that's out. I mean, we've been doing this for a while, right?
Absolutely.
You ever think that, what? Maybe I need to like put something out myself, or at least produce something that other sort of like artists can sing or rap over or something like that. You ever thought that, hey, you know what? I'm going to work on like an EP, put something out, put something out, find the artist that's going to do something on top of it and sort of release it. You ever thought like doing something like that?
I did do that a couple of years ago. Like I started working with this artist, and we actually recorded the whole album.
Really?
And we had a falling out with the artist, and I was like, I'm done with this. I don't care anymore. I went to flip the table over. I was so mad. But like I recorded maybe like 20 or 30 songs that we put together with this artist. And I still think it would have banged today if it came out, but
can you use it?
Wasn't meant to be. Yeah. All the songs are good. Is
the artist saying you can't use this, you can't put this out?
No, it's our music that we gave to the artist. Like it wasn't his stuff. It's our stuff. So
man,
I can do whatever I want with it.
Yeah, my brother, he's a producer, man, and he's like just spitting them out. And I'm just like, he's like, man, I want to release this stuff. I'm like, you should put out a beat tape. Put out a beat tape, maybe 10 tracks. let that marinate, do your little social media thing, also put it up on like Bandcamp, so you can get a large percentage of your money back. Also know that if you release it through, sort of a digital distributor, it's going to get on, Spotify and all the other streaming services, so you could plug it that way as well. And then
Yeah.
start releasing like maybe 1 or 2 tracks every month or two. I mean, you could do that in this whole digital marketplace now, right? With the streaming and everything, I
Yeah.
thought about
Well,
doing that too. Like
okay.
releasing something like maybe putting together like maybe four, like a short project, a small project, and then finding
Mhm.
different artists who can do specifically what I want them to do on the track,
Mhm.
you know, something like that. Again, I'm still thinking about it because, we're kind, even though we're not in lockdown, we sort of are in
Mhm.
lockdown, because it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I want these people to come to my, crib, into my studio or whatever. And if they do, they
Mhm.
have to be fully vaccinated as well. You got to show me the vaccine passport for you to come in here, dude. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, where's the passport? Or even going to the
Mhm.
recording studio to do mix downs and mastering or something like that. So,
Mhm.
you know, I think this too, right? And I'm a make this statement, and then I want to ask you this question. I also
Mhm.
think that today, I think that an artist can do really well if they come out with something like totally fresh and new, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Not that you have to produce like the next, I don't know, future style, hip hop, mumble rap, something like that. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do that, right? You can come out with something new or,
Mhm.
something totally different, something more refreshing than what we're listening to. That album you created with that artist with about 20 tracks, did you feel that that was like something fresh and new like for the industry today?
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, yeah, but it's like 8 or 9 years old now.
Oh, really? It was
So
that old long ago.
yeah, yeah, it's been a while. I dabble making music every once in a
Wow,
while,
okay.
anytime I get the mood, but it's it's old, but it's not dated. I'll put it like that.
Okay, so you still have some timeless tracks in there somewhere, huh?
Yeah. I felt like the no, see, this is my opinion though, but
Uh-huh.
I felt like the stuff it would be around for a long time.
Mhm.
And we went through the whole process. We went to the record labels, we were shopping it, we did the whole thing, and yeah, it just didn't work out. So it is what it is. Like, but like, yeah, I feel like firstly, like there's some stuff on there. Every once in a while, I may drop a song on my YouTube channel, but yeah,
Mhm.
uh,
Right, right,
just
right.
depends on the mood.
Okay, yeah, so I don't know, man. I'm like I said, that's one of the reasons that, again, the two really dope albums I've been feeling are, I think,
Mhm.
some of the most creative albums, like Tyler the Creator with Igor and also K Tronada with Bubba.
Mhm.
I thought those two albums were just refreshing. It was just like something totally different. You ever listen to Thievery Corporation?
No, no.
Thievery Corporation, they're out of DC. They're like they're basically the pioneers of chill out music, right? And they do
Okay.
that whole thing, man. They got the band. The live show is sick. When I first saw them, they're
Mhm.
DJs, right? When I first saw them, and I always thought about this. I was like, yo, you know what? We need to bring the studio onto a stage and do a show
Mhm.
like that. So that's basically what these guys did. And that's what they do. It feels like they're bringing the studio to the stage and they're doing it that way. They got the DJ
Okay.
turntables rocking, they got the band playing, and man, the music is sick. They have like, I don't know, over 15 releases, maybe even more. Um,
That's dope.
the shows they play a lot in Toronto, Montreal, all over Canada,
Mhm.
all over America. They do the festival, sort of like touring as well. And
Okay.
Thievery Corporation, man, I mean, it's chill out music, so but very dope. I mean, you would think that these guys were hip hop DJs because the way they produce and
Mhm.
mix and master their music, it just sounds so like warm and thick.
Okay.
Very good group. Very good group though, out of DC.
I mean, hold on, I'm making a list.
The Thievery Corporation, dude. And
Okay.
and Cade's, like I said, Cade's the Elephant. That's another cool group I've been listening to
Yeah,
as
I got it on the
well.
list already. I'm gonna go
That's
check them out after.
again, it's like alternative like music, you know.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so weird because like I'm looking at my list here and there's Dummy Portishead. That's man, dude, that's a classic.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a classic, you know. I mean,
yeah.
who's the other one here? Ari Lennox too. I think she's from DC. I was
Mhm.
introduced to her from Colors. Then I started listening to her music, and I'm like, okay, I like this person, so I can now listen
There's
to their
there's
music.
just so much music out right now.
It's so much
It's
music
almost
out right
too
now.
much music when you think about it. It kind of reminds me of uh when you go to like record shopping and you see like old music from like the 60s and 70s. And we're like,
Right?
I've never heard of half of these groups, but they all got albums and
Yeah.
they're on
Mhm.
actual record labels. Like, where'd this stuff come from? And like we're in the same level here where there's so much music out and just people aren't hearing it. They don't get to see it. Very few people actually make any dent in Spotify, but they could have a good career just touring and doing stuff locally. And that's kind of where it is right now.
I had
So
a
much music.
it's so much music out. I had a some people were over here inspecting, doing a home inspection of this house, and the
Mhm.
guy had his son with him, who was like a young guy, and so he came in the basement and he saw all my vinyl and everything. And he was like, "Can I pull one of those out?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was explaining to his son. He was like, "This is how we used to listen to music." He was like, "What do you? How do you listen
Mhm.
to music with that? You know, it's so big." And it's
Mhm.
like, "This is how we used to listen to music back in the day on vinyl." And he was like,
Yeah.
"Really?" So this like young guy didn't even know and whatnot. And then I was cleaning out my garage yesterday,
Mhm.
and dude, I have these bins with like the what is that, the Tascam 888s, you know how we used to the DAT tapes. So I'm
Oh,
finding
yeah,
all
yeah.
these DAT tapes. I'm finding like I used to buy, you know, we were last time we were talking about like the different sort of equipment we used to buy when we were coming up
Mhm.
as producers. A lot of this stuff used floppy disk. I have like 4 or 5 cases, boxes of
Yeah, yeah.
floppies that I've never used because we used to just buy them just to like
Yeah.
make sure we
Get 'em in
had them,
bulk.
right? Yeah.
Then
And
you make
so
a beat, you gotta put the floppy disk in there,
right.
right? That's all
So
that's what I had in the ASR-10.
right. So I'm going through this these bins and I'm pulling up all these old cassettes. So I have like
Mhm.
Dead or Alive. I don't know if you are into Dead or Alive. Was like a group I was totally into back in the day. They were like
Okay.
Dead or Alive was Marilyn Manson before Marilyn Manson. You know,
Okay.
he was he was Prince after Prince. You know,
Mhm.
sexuality, dressing, all that sort of stuff, and it was almost like it was dance music. That's what it was. But you know,
Mhm.
he had like huge hits too. You know, that hit the charts. Um, I was looking at all the stuff. You know, just Jill Scott on cassette. You know, Erica Badu. You know, just like man, I used to just like buy these cassettes. You know, put them in and like
Mhm.
listen to them. You know, if you had the auto reverse, it would auto reverse and play the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, flip over.
And it's like, and you made a really good point. You're like, it's just so much stuff out there. And I'm looking in these bins, and I'm like, wow, this is all the music I was, you know, buying. And I mean, just look behind you. Look at all the
Yeah, yeah.
albums you have right there, and we're only looking at a small portion of
Mhm.
your background. You know, in terms
Mhm.
of the vinyl and everything you have up. We have thousands of
Yeah.
pieces of vinyl,
Tons of vinyl, yeah.
tons of vinyl. You know, so now it's a lot easier because there's more music out there because it's digital now. So it's just like,
Well,
what do
I
I
think that
listen to?
once the barriers to get your music to be widely distributed changed,
Right. Hmm.
that just opened the floodgates. Because,
That's true.
before to get your music into iTunes, you need to be part of a record label
That's
or,
true.
you had to be kind of solicited to get it on iTunes. And now anybody could just go to CD Baby or whatever and put an album out there or get one of those distributors to put it on iTunes and Spotify for you. It's
That's
like
true.
$200 or whatever. Like it's nothing. But before it was a huge hassle.
And
Getting your music online was a hassle.
it took long too. Like back in the day,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
would like my first album. I did it through CD Baby, and it took almost 2 months for it to appear on
Yeah.
iTunes.
Now it's like a couple hours, I
It's
think.
a couple hours today, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like I think the other thing is this, right? So when it comes to releasing music, there's still not, and for me, being a house producer and producing stuff in those sort of genres that are very specific, right? You obviously want your stuff on iTunes and stuff like that, right? But you also want your music on places like Beatport and TrackSource and like Dex and all these and what people play, all these different sort of like MP3 download sites that DJs use. There's no way to specifically get your music there with some of these. It's not like a digital distributor that says we only distribute to DJ sites.
Yeah.
I wish there was a sort of distributor like that.
It's still super complicated getting your stuff to the DJs, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It should be very simple and laid out. Instrumental, radio version, whatever, all labeled, BPM in there, all that stuff should be done. It's still all over the place. So
it's insane, man.
It's
definitely
more complicated
insane.
than it should be.
Okay, you have all this music. Okay, so we've been listening to music. We know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess you and I as DJs, I know what I've been doing is I've been basically putting together different playlists because I know at some point we're going to be back DJing again. So have you been sort of thinking about like what's going on, what you are going to do once we are like fully open and able to get back to it? You've been putting your music, your playlist together, things of that nature?
Yeah. I've been still, even though I don't DJ and doing streams or whatever, I still make playlists and I still, play like music for a little bit, put together like a mixtape or whatever. So
Right.
I'm still, scratching and cutting and trying to put together music, regardless whether or not I can play it right now or not. Because I think that the people who are organized and ready to go, these guys are gonna win. So it's better that you're organized and you don't know when this is gonna happen. It's gonna be soon though, so it's better that you have your stuff ready right now.
It's going to be soon.
Solicit business.
Yeah. I've I definitely, been putting different playlists together. I like to obviously put them together based on genre and also just like I like to also name my playlist like name them after like cocktails, like a pink margarita, or something like that. That are just like, okay, I know what this vibe is all about. But in terms of getting back to the whole DJ game, we spoke about this a few podcasts back, but I was saying that like how I'm getting ready is I'm putting a one-sheeter together. Like, hey, this is who I am. This is where you can go to listen to some of my DJ sets. These are my rates. And so I'm going at it in a totally different, more professional way because I think once everything gets back to normal as DJs, we're like all the businesses, they forgot about us. I mean, they forgot about, right? Isn't that true? They forgot about us. So now these businesses, they have to get reacclimated to DJs, right? So I'm like, okay, how am I going to stand out as a DJ so this company, this business can hire me? So that's why I'm putting my one-sheeter together with just like, things like myself, a little short bio, nothing like too extensive. And then like where you can listen to some of my music and just like so basically like a calling card, something like that, So that's what I'm doing, man. I'm hoping that something pans out, but because I was talking to someone who had a couple. Well, he still does. He has a couple bars, restaurants, and sometimes he brings DJs into play and. He was like, I said, how are you getting ready, man, now that things are back open? He's like, man, I have to, I lost everything, like not his business, but he lost like promoters he used to talk to. He lost DJs he used to talk to.
It's a whole new ball game.
It's a whole new ball game, right? So it's sort of new and fresh. So as a DJ, you should be thinking like, hey, What can I do?
Yeah.
How can I hook everything up, right? How are you going about that?
Yeah, well, I'm networking right now and talking to people who are still connected to stuff.
Mhm.
I use quotations about stuff, but like
Right.
who are still connected,
Mhm.
and so I'm still trying to keep in contact and let them know that what's going on here. Like, and you're gonna have to do that because everybody's starting from zero again. Whoever was a draw for the club, well, they haven't been working for 2 years.
Right.
So whatever their draw was may not be the same. And somebody new could bring in the different group of people or whatever.
Right.
So you
Exactly.
gotta you gotta think about that.
They
So
may
I
have
think that
moved too, right?
yeah, all kind of stuff could happen.
Right.
So
Mhm.
like I think that restaurants and bars and stuff are definitely starting from scratch, trying to find new people and
Yeah.
whatever. So the second it looks like they're gonna finally allow people to be inside
Mhm.
and not worry about the crowd numbers or whatever, you got to be on it before then because you could probably start your whole new career off and be in a better position than you were before all this stuff happened. Because
Exactly,
the other thing too, and I said this before in a video, that a lot of DJs who couldn't hack it sold their gear, and who couldn't last, they got rid of all their equipment, whatever. They're not ready. So you have people who are just in their bedroom, but they've never done anything professional before.
Yeah.
And then you have DJs that survived this thing. And those people are going to win. The
Yeah.
people who were working before and survived, they're going to have all the jobs in the world. And because
It's gonna be like, yeah.
it's the
Mhm.
first come, first serve.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of people who, like they're just not prepared or not ready for it. Because I think
Yeah.
too is that you've gone past 2 different seasons of music already.
Yeah.
We're in the second summer right now, and by the time you start playing, the music that you used to play 3 years ago or 2 years ago, it's gonna be worthless.
It's worthless.
And
Mhm.
so you gotta be prepared for that as well too. So I think that it's gonna be an eye-opening for a lot of people to start over from scratch. But if you want to get into the business, now is the best time that could ever happen to you.
Yeah.
Is bar
That's
none.
true, man. You just have to put together, you have to be strategic about it. You have to sort of put together a really good, like, just think about how you want to get into a space, right? And again, like I said, I'm doing like a nice little sort of like calling card thing, and like, hey, because I'm going to do sort of spots here and spots there. I obviously want to get back into the whole corporate DJing thing. That's where the money is.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
just like, that's what I really want to do, because we spoke about our game plan and the cheat sheets and everything that we use. The corporate DJing money is where the money
Way
is.
better.
That's where I
Way
want to get
better.
back to, you know.
Yeah. And
Less work.
some
Mhm.
companies are gonna be struggling right now, so they may not be ready to do a party, but a
Yeah.
year or two from now, as long as you're ready for it, you'll be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think the whole corporate events thing, that's going to take a little time to get back to normal, because, you have
Yeah.
companies just trying to figure out how they're going to bring their workforce back into the office. I mean, are they
Yeah,
going to
that's another
require
thing.
that, people require people get vaccinated or something like that? So I still
Mhm.
think that because things are opening, we still have to sort of be very cautious in terms of, like, you know, how we do things,
Mhm.
in terms of DJs, because I don't know. I mean, would I next month do an indoor, like, DJ indoor, like in a with a crowd of people indoors? Like, I
Mhm.
don't think I would do that yet. I mean, outdoors, sure. Like a roof deck party or something like that. I would do an outdoor party all day.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to do indoor parties yet. I'm just, just taking my time with this whole,
Mhm.
being fully vaccinated thing. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work.
Well, I mean, everything is gonna be more complicated than it was before, and
Right,
that's
it
the thing
is.
people need to realize, that this is not how it was before. There's gonna be different things required of you,
Mm-hmm.
and people are going to have to hustle in a way that they're not used to even get back to making enough money that you can live off of again.
Mm-hmm.
And that people aren't a lot of people aren't prepared. I think they're worried about stuff that doesn't matter, and you need to realize that you're in the Wild West again,
Right.
and you don't have seniority.
Nope.
There's no, and I think companies are going to take the cheapest bidder as well.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of other factors too that you're not thinking about. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
But the people who get there, they're going to be fine. But it's going to be a mess, at least
Yeah.
initially.
That's true. That's true, man. So like before we even go, let me ask you this here. Okay, so with the music, is there an artist or two that you would suggest to our listeners and our viewers that they should go and give them a try in terms of an act or a group or an artist that you've been listening to and like, hey, you know what, you should go check this artist out. Who would that be?
Wow. You know what? I have to think about that. I wish I had some advanced wording on that question. Um, hmm. The different genres. I would definitely say that Tyler the Creator, like if you haven't heard his music before, like you need to give that a listen
Yeah.
because he's doing some interesting things and he's taking the music in a different direction than it's used to. I'd also say that uh people should probably give Nerd a chance or listen to it as well. I think that they've kind of got because they're producers and Neptunes, and people are familiar with their music from certain artists,
Right.
but the band is a different thing. It's more like alternative rock with hip
Yeah.
hop,
Hmm.
and it's a different vibe. And there's a lot of different styles of music right now. So like I would say like that. That's where my head's at right now. But you know what is before we even started talking about this, I found that
Hmm.
before this last year or so, I would have probably suggested some dance music or some hip hop, whatever. But
Hmm.
I'm like, my mind is in a totally different space as it stands right now.
The lockdown just like totally cleared hip hop and R&B out of our like thinking, and it's just
Yeah,
like, hey, you know what,
it's time.
maybe we can listen to something else, or like you were saying, it's just like if it's hip hop, maybe it's something that's totally different and not like everything else. That's where I am when it
Yeah,
comes to hip hop. Like, is this hip hop? Does this hip hop sound like everyone else? Everyone else? If it
yeah. I don't
does,
want to listen to
I
that.
don't want to listen to it. You know.
No.
So I would say for me, definitely, if you haven't heard of the Cade Bubba album, go listen to
Mm,
that. That is a real sexy album. It's really dope. Um,
mm,
and obviously Cage, the Elephant, again, really cool alt rock band. Just some of the dopest music. I mean, it just reminds me of like alt rock from like the 80s and 90s. Pretty
mm.
cool. Um, the rap game, definitely check out Jayden Smith. He has a really cool album.
Yeah.
Tyler the Creator, dope album. I mean,
Mm.
I had no idea that that album was like #1 on the Billboard charts for a minute.
Yeah, yeah. He was doing good. He was doing good. He was performing everywhere too before all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
So imagine where it could have gone before all this stuff
Show
happened.
was pretty. I saw one of his live shows. Like he posted it on YouTube, and it was
Yeah.
live show is pretty dope, man. It's pretty
Mhm.
cool. What are you going to do, DJ Keo, when we are able to start DJing again? What is are you gonna go to maybe do some wedding stuff, or some cruise stuff, or some corporate stuff? What do you think which area you think you can get in really fast, just quickly?
I think probably the
Hmm.
first thing I'm going to do is a cruise.
Hmm.
It's probably going to be the first thing I do because if the weather's still nice, that's where everyone's going to want to be.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I'll probably end up doing that, and
Hmm.
I think that some corporate people will give me a heads up. They want to do some stuff for like a
Right.
Christmas party, whatever,
Yeah.
or even like a fall. Hey, we made it kind of party. I don't know. Like
Like,
I've been
we're
talking to some
back
people,
party.
and
Hmm.
they've been this coming together with some ideas for some things because I was connected to a bunch of different companies, some insurance companies, some banks,
Hmm.
some other stuff. So yeah, they reached out and they're like, hey, you still doing stuff, like,
Yeah.
just trying to gauge me out. I'm like, yeah, yeah. So I think it'd be interesting. um yeah, for sure, probably do a cruise, and then Probably a ton of weddings because the weddings got put on hold for a year
Oh my
and a
goodness,
half.
yeah. They are
So I
coming
think
back.
that when they can do weddings again,
Yeah,
it's just going to be like every other day is going to be a wedding for a lot of
yeah,
people at
that's true.
DJ, and they're going to want to party. They're not just going to want to play some background music. Like
That is
people
so
want to
true.
celebrate. So
I
if you
mean,
weren't in the wedding game, you should probably look into that.
right. And the other thing is like no one at a wedding, wedding reception is going to just like plug up an iPhone and let the like music play there. You got to have a DJ at a wedding
They want
reception,
it. They're gonna want a DJ. I went to a wedding last year in October. It was one of my good
Mhm.
friends, and she had a DJ there, but we weren't allowed to dance. So
What do you mean?
we
Why
were
not?
basically well, this is the height of the pandemic and everything like
Oh,
that. So
okay, okay,
nobody knew
okay.
what was going on still. So basically we got they had permission to do the wedding. It
Okay.
was outdoors in like a tent type thing.
Mhm.
And then we went to this patio area and the patio was wide open. So
Oh,
and then
okay.
the DJ was there, but she could
Mhm.
only play like quiet, soft music. She couldn't play anything up tempo or whatever for fear
Wow.
that people would start dancing, or whatever. So it was a weird vibe.
Oh
And
my
that's why I say,
goodness.
like, if you've gone to one of those, or if you know that was happening, you are gonna want to have the opposite happen for your thing. So you want
Right.
to have the biggest, loudest, most crazy party of all time
Yeah,
for
right,
your wedding.
exactly.
So yeah, you should definitely look into that. If you're trying to DJ, make some money quick, you look into weddings for
Yeah,
sure.
weddings, you may have to have your own equipment, but if you're super smart, you can just like, rent that from like a third party
Yeah,
and have them deliver it, so,
rent some
save some money.
speakers,
Yeah.
plug your gear in, and let's go. That's all you need, really.
That's it, man. Well, folks, there you have it. Another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. I am Basil Barrington.
I'm DJ Keo.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, peace.
All right.